everyone. Well, my guest today decided that she didn't want to write a novel because it took too much work, but she did it anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, Donna McCaw. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you on. Now, you're in Ontario, correct?
Yes, in Elora, Ontario, on the banks of the Grand River.
All right. Is that where the gorge is, Elora Gorge?
Exactly, yes.
We used to go camping there years ago. So anyway, you've written poetry and short stories. So let's start with some of that before we get into the novel, okay?
Okay, sure.
So when did you first start writing?
I started writing my first novel when I was 11 years old. I lived on a farm and I had all these scribbled pages and I hid them between bales of hay in the barn. Okay. It was my secret project. And I think probably a cow ate it.
Oh, no.
So that's when I started. And then when I was about 38, I had a brush with death and said, you know, I've always wanted to write a book. I'd better get at it.
Oh.
So that's when I started writing the short stories and poetry, usually Sunday afternoons if I had a bit of a break from single parenting and teaching and marking and all those kind of things. It was my sort of special magic time just for me.
Right, yeah. So what are the names of some of your short stories?
Under the Apple Boughs was the first short story book, and it's a short story book by someone who claims to remember the 60s. And it pretends to go and interview people from sort of late 50s to early 70s about one strong memory from their youth. But there's only one of them that is, I actually did that. The rest, I made all of them up. Oh,
I see. Okay. Now, you've written a number of poetries, right? Or poems, sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
The other short story book was called Under the Apple Boughs, and it was collection of rural stories from rural Saskatchewan, where I spent one very long year, and rural Ontario. And then I did two poetry books, Spiral to the Heart and The Spell of Crazy Love.
Okay. Now, you wrote, one of the books you wrote that was, let's see, The Great Divide?
Across the Great Divide is the new novel.
Okay, so that was your project, your COVID project, right, for 2021?
Yes. The first year, people said, oh, Donna, you must be writing up a storm. I said, I have got the attention span of a gnat. I can barely make it through the day. You know, when COVID first hit, it was really difficult to adjust to everything.
Yes.
And, but by 2021, I thought, you know, we're isolating here, buckle down and do something. So I had a couple of short stories about the main character, Simon. And so I thought, well, I'll dust off some short stories and see if I can put another short story book together. And I started writing and it just kept going till it turned into a novel.
And now that was released in April of this year?
The end of April, I got the first copies. So I have 150 copies. And of that 150 copies, I have about 20 left.
Oh, very good. Good for you. Now, you've written other books after that one?
I wrote sort of the proof that I have a left brain book about retirement readiness. So called It's Your Time. It used to be on Amazon and Chapters, and I did speaking engagements across the country. I worked with financial planners and insurance people, and I did a lot on women and retirement. I did courses. I wrote blogs for retirehappy.ca and a couple of other sites. I did speaking engagements. I did courses. I did work for a couple of different unions to help get their people prepared for retirement, and for companies that wanted to present a day for retirement readiness for their employees. And it was fascinating, really interesting work. I must have talked to thousands of pre-retirees and post-retirees that I was surprised about. People who'd already retired started coming to my courses and started making inquiries on my then website. And many of them were suffering from retirement shock.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they had some identity issues, maybe some relationship issues, really had a sense of being lost in retirement. And so they came to my classes, or we talked one-on-one, and it was a really big education. It was sort of I have a background in psychology and sociology, and that fit in really well for taking a look at people's various reactions to retirement.
Now you say did, so are you retired? I kind of not.
I retired from retirement.
Pardon?
I retired from retirement.
I'm just thinking, somebody who does, somebody who does too much stuff is hard. They find it hard to retire.
Yes, they do. They really do.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're forced into retirement, which is a terrible way to go into retirement, either a health issue or a downsizing or being pushed out.
Right.
And sometimes people get very, very lonely, and they don't know how to structure their lives or reach out to other people. I had one fellow said, I went from a legend to nobody like that. And he said that was a big adjustment.
Right. Wow. That's really, it must be so tough for so many people. You know, I mean, you know, I'm one of the few people that COVID opened a whole new world for me.
Absolutely.
You know, but that didn't work for everybody, right?
Yeah. And during COVID was a really difficult time to retire too, because all the things, you know, people think about their honeymoon period with retirement. You know, what am I going to do when all this bag of rocks are off my back and I have some options and freedom? But with COVID, a lot of those options and freedom did not exist.
Oh my goodness.
And that sent people for a loop as well.
Right. Now, the book that you wrote about retirement readiness, like, do you tell people that they should have something to go to or to have like a hobby or whatever?
Yeah. We all need structure. We all need purpose. We all need community just for having a basic life. And so many people, when they retired, felt their purpose was gone. Their whole structure of how they lived their life was gone. And if their community was their work community, they were in some relationship trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the basics that they had to deal with. Right. You know, so we looked at timing, you know, are you psychologically ready as well as financially ready? And then we looked at finances and the legal things like your wills and powers of attorney and so on. Looked at lifestyle. Where do you want to live? Who do you want to live with? How do you want to live? Mm-hmm. How do you get that sense of purpose and structure? We looked at relationships, for better, for worse, but for lunch every day, give me a break, you know? And how do I find my people? Mm-hmm. How do I find people to hang out with and do things with? Mm-hmm. Then health. Health is the wild card, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How do I preserve my health to the best of my ability? How do I do the workarounds for any problems that I have? You know, so it's looking at transitions. So how do I make transitions? And how do I do it in a positive way rather than dreading it? And I had people who dreaded it, people who did serial retirement. They retired, hated it, went back to work. Couldn't handle work, retired, hated it. You know, it was a real struggle for some people. For other people, it's whoopee, you know, the curtain of life is opening and I'm stepping on my stage, you know, so it was a little different for everyone.
Right. Yeah. I guess if you can point out to people how, when you retire, there's so many things you can still do, maybe not get paid for it. Right. If you're financially set, there's volunteering, there's all kinds of things you can do out there. Right.
Yeah. And get that sense of contributing, get that sense of self-worth, meet new and interesting people. There's so many things. There's a volunteer center in the city close to me, and I sent people there all the time, and I would get feedback. Thank you so much for letting me discover this, and thank you so much for pushing me out the door to go here. And you know, just give people permission to explore for the first little while.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe things they hadn't even thought of themselves, right?
exactly.
Now, let's go back to some of the things you've done in your youth. You were a waitress at a bar.
I was underage, so I got to know all the police officers. So I could go to any bar and just wave at them, and they knew who I was. So it was perfect.
You were also a janitor.
Yes, I was the night janitor. So I would be going to classes during the day. And then a friend and I shared a job as a night janitor for a company. So we would go in between 9 and 11 at night. And we'd finish between 2 and 3 in the morning to go home, sleep, get up and go to school again.
You were also, let's see, a tour guide.
Yes, I did tours at the university, which was really interesting because I met people from all around the world who were coming to tour an agricultural university. I went to the University of Guelph.
Okay.
And I was from a farm, so they usually assigned me to work with the people coming, particularly about the farm education, veterinary medicine education, even though I was an arts student.
Okay.
So I met people from Indonesia, the Philippines, Africa, from all over the world. And it was a really good education for me. And I got to have some wonderful lunches in the President's Lounge and dining room.
That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Now, you were an editor. So what were you editing?
I've done work for people who've self-published poetry books, photography books, all different kinds of books. So, you know, it's very touchy editing poetry books.
Okay. I would think so, yeah.
Because it's so personal. But because I wrote poetry, they trusted me and we could talk, and it was their decisions all along the way, but I would point things out of discrepancies or, you know, little problems and so on. So that was really good for me and my writing as well. So editing other people's work gave me, you know, a pretty good perspective about who I wanted editing my work.
Okay, all right. And now let's see, where you were a high school teacher.
Yes, I did that for quite some time. I was just at a party for a couple of students former students who are getting married now that they are in their late 30s.
Nice.
And I got lots of hugs and thank yous and lots of war stories. It was fun.
Very nice. And you also taught at college as well, right?
I was at Conestoga College. The program called Introduction to Non-Traditional Occupations for Women, way back when they were doing that. And so they had to learn about health and safety, about WMIS, and take a look at incomes and unions and learn all kinds of things about working. And then I had to get workplaces for them. And that was a challenge. That was back in the day when, you know, companies did not have a washroom for female employees, right? For example, you know, it seems ridiculous now, but that's in my lifetime. Yeah. And I also taught or I worked in placement and counseling at Sheridan College for a while.
Very good. Now you mentioned that you've done some speaking, right? Quite a bit of speaking, I believe.
Yes. Anything from education issues to the retirement things. And I did quite a bit of adult education, everything from creative writing to self-esteem to improving your sleep, you know, done a lot of things like that.
Yeah. Let's see now. Performer?
Yes, I've put together a number of shows. Every time I wrote a book, I found the most fun way of selling the book was to put on a show. So with Under the Apple Boughs, I worked with kind of a rock group that do the music from the 60s. We did a couple of shows that way. with the rural one, we had an old-time fiddler, a gut bucket player, a banjo player who could play anything with strings on, actually. And we did country music and then the country stories. Mm-hmm. And with the poetry, I did one show with a singer-songwriter called Women's Voices, mm-hmm. where we looked, you know, at the lifespan of a woman from a girl to an elder. And we did it as a fundraiser for a lot of women's groups, church groups. So that was fun. And the Spell of Crazy Love, I again worked with singer-songwriter, and we did the Spell of Crazy Love tour. It was fun.
Sounds like fun. So what are you doing currently?
Well, with this book, I'm working with a musician who can play just about anything. Mm-hmm. So we did a small show at a local restaurant, and I would talk a little bit about the book. Okay. And then he would do a song. So I'd handed out a sheet of fill in the blanks. So the book is about blank. And then he would play a little bit of paperback writer. And they would fill in, if they knew the song, paperback writer. Yeah, and then it went on from there. And we had a prize. And we just had a lot of laughs. It was a lot of fun. And I'm doing a couple of shows. One is in October. And instead of doing the fill in the blank, we'll just do the whole song and just go back and forth, spoken word song, because I think that's more fun. And my musician Paul said, a song is a whole thing. It's like a poem, Donna. You can't just interrupt a song and play a little tiny bit and hope they guess what it is. So he was uncomfortable with that, and I agreed. You know, the song also adds to the story. Right. So it needs to be done in full.
Okay. But it just sounds so entertaining. It really does.
Well, it is. It's fun. You know, when it comes to writing, mm-hmm. it's a passion. Yeah. But if it's not fun, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, and you also, let's see now, you facilitated a spoken word event called WordFest.
Yes, for about 14 years. Sometimes it was at the local arts center, and sometimes it was at a local coffee shop. Mm-hmm. And I would make up posters, put the word out, contact every writer I knew, everybody I'd edited for, and said, if you want 5 minutes to showcase your work, come. And at first I had people signing up ahead of time. Right. But then people would show up and say, you know, I want to read. And I say, well, I'm sorry, we have a full slate. But then 2 people wouldn't show up, and it was driving me crazy. So I said, you know, if you want to read, show up at 7, sign up where you want to be on the sheet, stay, and we'll start at 7:30. Yeah. And then I usually had a pretty full slate. I would put myself in as in case there's not enough. Mm-hmm. I hardly forgot to read. But that was okay, because it was usually a Thursday night. And I said, you know, we will be out of here by 9:30. So 7:30 to 9:30, small break for refreshments and so on in between. And that's it. That's the show. But so many writers were then able to network and meet one another. And a couple of publishers started coming and listening. And, you know, it was a really good experience. It was a good show, for one thing. Yeah. Most of the time. No, all the time. It was a good show. There might have been 1 or 2 that you kind of think, is that 5 minutes nearly up yet? But not too many. Right. And then it was also good for bringing these writers together, because as you know, writing can be a pretty lonely, isolating thing to do. Yeah. So it got like-minded people together and talking and laughing and connecting. And so I was really happy with how that went. But after 14 years and then COVID hit, I said, that's it. I'm done. Not doing this anymore.
Yeah, yeah. But it sounds so marvelous. Really does. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it was fun. And it was relatively simple. Mm-hmm. I charged $5 at the door.
Right.
$5. but that was enough to pay for, maybe some apple cider and cookies. And at first they gave me the space because they wanted to see it as a dynamic thing. But after a while they started renting it. And so the price went all the way up to $6.
Oh, no.
No.
Still cheap at any cost, right? Oh my gosh. Well, this has been really interesting. I think it's just so fascinating. Oh, wait a minute now. I have to add this one in. You volunteered with a number of groups, including Save Our Water, right?
Yes. So 7 years ago, Nestle came to our town and bought a 5-acre property with a well on it. Mm-hmm. And we're on a limestone karst plain here, and we have trouble getting municipal water. So it didn't make sense to this town to give 1.6 million liters of water a day, which is what they were asking for, to a commercial water bottler to put in plastic, ship across Canada, when the town that they're in, the municipality, doesn't have enough water to expand. We've always had problems getting good municipal water here. So we got a water supply management thing put in place, which says we need 4 new wells. We got a Tier 3 water budgeting study done by the province, who said that we were at significant risk to our drinking water. And Nestle left North America, sold to Blue Triton, but neither company has gotten 1 drop of water from this municipality, and we want to keep it that way.
Good, Joe. Oh, that's marvelous. Love hearing that.
Yes, the little village that could.
Yeah. Well, we're going to end it there, and just stay on camera for me, please. So everybody, that's been Donna McCaw. Her latest one, I think it's the latest one. It is Across the Great Divide, was released at the end of April this year. So I'm sure you can find it on all of the. Can you get it on like Amazon and all those places?
Not this one. This one is my COVID baby. So it's available either from me or from Volumes in Waterloo, Ontario. Okay. You have to go to the Volumes Direct website to order it. Okay.
So you'll give me that information after I close off this to the audience. Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed hearing Donna's, the things she's done as well as I have. It's been really fascinating. So take care, everybody. Be nice and peace out. Now I'm going to find it.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.